Hi, everyone, and welcome to Pull Me Out of This, Sam's speaker series. I'm Abby Nydam, founder and CEO of Sam. I'm so excited for our first Pull Me Out of This in 2026 because we are joined here with Steph Steidle, one of our Sam experts from the very beginning, way back of April of 2025. Today, we're going to talk to Steph about visioning, goals, intention setting, and the new year and how we can really approach it in a beautiful and better way. Before I get to the question, Steph, I wanted to turn to you. Tell us about yourself, your background, and what led you to this work.
Yeah, I always envy people who know, like, I think it's rare, but there's people out there who just knew they wanted to be a doctor and they followed that straight line.
Yeah.
And I just want to, if anyone's listening and that's not you, I want you to know that there's others like you. So for me, my career went into like lots of different directions to actually have me get here. I studied psychology and I've always really loved the arts. Um, and then I thought I would be a great marketer, right? I thought, okay, I'm combining those two things, and I didn't last very long in the corporate world actually. So I just found that for me personally, I wanted to do something different. So I went back to school and I got my master's in art therapy, and so I was an art therapist for many years, working with families and then I started to do a lot more of my own personal development and inquiry about what I wanted for my life. And I decided that I actually wanted to go out on my own. And so I had many coaches and mentors, and they made such an impact on my life that I was like, I want to do that too. So I've kept my therapy license, but I've also gone more into coaching, and I've been trained by one of the top coaching organizations out there. And so I've been doing that for a really long time now, like 15 years. And so I like to say that I combine now like the best of both worlds. Coaching can be very future focused and action oriented, which we'll be talking about today. But then there's the need sometimes to go within and understand why am I having fear about taking this action? Why am I resisting this? Why am I procrastinating? And we're inherently very creative beings. So I like to bring in that creative thinking as well. And I specifically have a huge passion around working with women because a woman on fire is, I mean, just watch out, right? And I think a lot of us have unfortunately been conditioned by the systems that and societies that we live in to not own our voice. It has historically been dangerous, literally, for some women to speak out, to talk about what they want. And so many of us become people pleasers, or we think we have to achieve and be perfect all the time. And as a result, we tend to lose ourselves. So I'm really passionate. That's why I love Sam, is like really helping women, um, find their voice, feel empowered, know how to have challenging conversations and make challenging decisions so that they can have a more aligned and fulfilled life.
Your background is just fascinating, right? I mean, you're in, and that's what we really look for at Sam, right? We look for experts who have this tapestry of life experiences that they can bring to the conversation and to the advice, right? You have a support session on Sam, a capsule support session, which is centered around a guided visioning session with the client, putting goals into place and coming up with ways to action upon those.
Mm-hmm.
Which is so interesting given your art therapy background, the creative, but also your coaching. You're really a perfect expert to walk a woman through this. Let's talk a little bit about visioning. It's kind of a buzzy woo. There's a lot of stuff going on out there, vision board and this person has a podcast and manifest it all. But from your point of view and your experience, Steph, what's the biggest mindset shift you see that is needed before a woman even starts her journey with visioning or approaching the desire to create a vision with you or on her own?
Yeah. I'll try to make this short. I think a couple of things. Number one is um having that awareness or or having support in gaining awareness around what you truly want outside of what you've been told you should want or should have. So that's where that societal norm comes in. And it's, I can understand it's challenging, but some of us, we didn't get love or attention if we weren't the perfect straight A student, for example. And so we think that when we're visioning that our goals need to include all these achievement
Mm.
milestones, and maybe that's actually not truly what's aligned for you. So number one is really increasing your self-awareness to make sure that the goals and the vision that you're creating is truly aligned. That's number one. um I think number two is understanding what might be in your way.
Mm.
So if we have stuff that's unhealed, or things, fears that we haven't looked at, or anxieties, etc., it becomes like whipped cream on a mud pie, visioning on top of that, right? So it's not going to be a very delicious pie. So understanding, you know, if we want to fill our life with something, we need to make sure that the things that are holding us back, whether it's limiting beliefs or unhealed things, aren't taking up that space, because then
Mm.
there's no room for our vision to come to life. Yeah, I'd say those two. And then the third thing I would say is really giving up, being willing to let go of the
Mm.
attachment of what it's supposed to look like, and focusing more on how you want to feel and how you'll know what success looks like outside of a number in your bank account, or the kind of lifestyle that you're living. How do you want to feel? Because that really can open things up. So that was probably a longer answer than you
No,
want.
thank you. Thank you. The letting go is the hardest part, I think, at least for me, right? It's being open to that, right? And as women, we, especially high achieving, ambitious women, we tend to hold on to as much as we can, and that's not always conducive, what I hear you're saying. So, why is visioning important? Why is this something that we should all consider doing at some point during the year, throughout the year? Say more about that.
Yeah, well, number one, just giving ourselves permission to dream.
Mm.
How often do we do that? To really sit with ourselves, and really putting aside for a moment that voice that I think we all have that says that's not possible, you can't do that, and just giving yourself permission to dream. That process in and of itself. So something to know about the brain: creativity begets creativity. So the more, and then there's a term called like what we fires wires together. So the more that we dream, the more we tap into that creative process, the more creative and resourceful we become. So it is just a great brain exercise to
Mm.
help us wire those neurons in our brains, about creating possibilities, because you start to see things that maybe you didn't get to see before. It's also a great exercise on just learning more about yourself. One of the reasons I'm offering this capsule is that when you have a guide in this process versus doing it alone, you have someone that can ask you questions to help you go deeper,
Mm.
and to reflect back things so that you can see newly, or open up things that maybe you wouldn't be able to see if you were doing it on your own.
What is the biggest what is the most commonly heard inconcept or misconception that women have around visioning?
So really, this also might be unpopular, is that if you envision it, then you can manifest it. It's
Mm.
I wish it was that simple. Uh,
Mm.
Visioning is just the first step. And if we, I was saying we're human beings, not human doings. If we can do as much as we want, but if we're being from a place that is in contradiction to that, it's going to be very hard for us to make the progress that we want.
Mm.
So the vision is step one, but then creating a plan around that, and having support and structure and taking baby steps. Sometimes I see people, they like vision it and they're like, all right, 1 to 100. And it's really about climbing Mount Everest just one step at a time.
Yeah.
So I would say that's kind of one of the big things.
Mount Everest. I hear that. Steph, tell us a success story. You worked with a client around visioning and how that you brought them to achieving their goals and what they were hoping for.
The one that comes to mind is I had a client and I was doing actually business coaching with them, and they at the time they were a couple, and they had a little stand at a farmer's market. They did like gluten-free vegan food, and in my first session with them that I do with most of my clients is I ask them about what they want, what does success look like in a year or two. And as I continue to ask them questions, what came out is their dream was really to open up a brick and mortar, open up their own
Mhm.
cafe. And something interesting also happens about visioning is that once we speak it out loud, I believe that the universe is listening. It's like, uh-oh, watch out. Um, so when I heard that, part of my job as a coach is to be like, okay, wait a minute. If this is what you really want, why are we trying to improve your, just your business at the market?
Mhm.
Let's talk about how we can make this long-term goal a reality. And one of the things I did with them also is a vision board, which really helps to kind of get into the subconscious. And there's a whole bunch of neuroscience that I can share about at another time around why vision boards can be very effective. And then we created a plan. What ended up happening within 2 months is a space opened up. Someone told them about a space, and they went and looked at it. And the next thing I know, they are signing a lease. And now they have two locations, not just one. They expanded.
Oh, that's so great.
Yeah, and I'm just a guide. I would love to take credit for that. But I think what happens when I think about this success story is they dared to dream, they said it out loud, and then it like they started to look for opportunities. And then they stepped into that. It was scary, so I had to help them with that, and we had to come up with a structure about making sure that they could do this in a way that felt viable. Um, but by taking the action that I don't think they would have taken if they hadn't really owned that dream and that vision.
Yeah, oh, that's wonderful. That's a wonderful example. Thank you. Thank you so much. So, Steph, my last question is for those people who are listening and watching and intrigued about visioning and starting on a new foot in a different way, perhaps. What would you say to them right now? Who is this? Who is your support session for? Who is Set Your Motion for right now? And what do you want them to walk away with at the end of the session?
So I really think my session is, and again, I'm going to go back to that lunar year. I think my session is for folks that really understand that we are coming out of a year, and you may have even felt it, of shedding, of letting go, to make room for the next year, which they say is the year of the horse, which is all about momentum and change. And so, this session, one of the things that we can do is also make sure that you have what you need to really let go, or what needs to be let go, so that you can move into this next year. So doing that with intentions, so some exercises I can bring you through, and then having time to really sit about what you want to create. Even if you have barriers right now, if those barriers weren't there, what would you like to create? And helping them to really get into the feeling of the vision. What does it look like? Sometimes people will get into a session with me and they'll say, okay, oh, I just want to increase my income by, I don't know, X amount. Okay, but what would that give you?
Mm,
Why? Right. And then when we go deeper and we understand what they're really looking for, we can better align the vision. And then what that then does is help you to create a better action plan. So in this session, we really look at what is it that you want to create, what might be getting in the way, and then you'll leave with concrete action steps that you can take. If you haven't already done the vision, you can do it and then bring it to me. We can talk about it. But action steps to really remove what's in the way and feel empowered to create what's next, and then know what you need to do to support yourself in taking those actions. And I don't recommend taking action just on your own. You usually need some sort of accountability structure, whether it's a coach, a friend, you know a
yes.
gym trainer. Right, so yeah.
The big A word, accountability. Well, here's to the year of the horse.
Thanks.
I think it's a perfect time for that release and putting together that plan to bring you into this lunar new year. Steph, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being on Sam. If you're interested in booking a session with Steph, her links are below in the description.